the end of the day, the merits of a video game are really just a product of your own expectations. So if all you're expecting out of this is to have Pac-Man and Galaga on your 3DS, well, you probably won't be disappointed with this game. But if you're expecting anything beyond that, well, you probably won't be surprised to learn that Namco Bandai has found yet another way to toss these esteemed arcade classics into a categorically stale package. It's Pac-Man and Galaga Dimensions for the Nintendo 3DS. It's more like Pac-Man and Galaga Dumb Mentions.
I have to what?
Eat them! I told you! To defeat the ghost, you must eat them! Now!
Released just last month, Pac-Man and Galaga Dimensions is a compilation based on Namco's two biggest properties, Pac-Man and Galaga. In Dimensions, you get the original arcade games, and the original arcade games. You're also getting 4 newer versions of Pac-Man and Galaga, but the game also packages the originals in 3 different forms each. But don't be fooled, there are only 6 games in this package. Changing up the backgrounds doesn't mean that there are 3 different versions of Pac-Man. It's the same freaking game! So, how does one f*** up a compilation of Pac-Man and Galaga? Well, pull up an iridescent Pac dot and lend an ear. Let's start with the originals. Pac-Man and Galaga are 2 of the best games of all time, but when you throw them on the 3DS and you shrink them so that they fit on the top screen alone, kind of makes them hard to play. The games are just way too small, and as petty as that sounds, just try playing them for yourself. Now, it's nice that achievements have been added, and the 3 frames are kind of a cool touch, but at the same time, it's still the same 2 games, and you're selling them for $39.99 with just 4 other titles added, 2 of which are downloadable games. This is a wildly overpriced package with an insulting amount of content, which actually kind of makes it a fitting summation of the 3DS's existence thus far. But there are 2 highlights to Pac-Man and Galaga Dimensions, and they are the 2 aforementioned downloadable games. One is Pac-Man Championship Edition, a game released 4 years ago on Xbox Live, and the other is Galaga Legions, another Xbox Live game released 3 years ago. These are easily, without question, the biggest selling points to Dimensions. Having portable versions of these fantastic games is the best reason to own this cartridge. And unlike most modern revisions of arcade classics, they actually evolve the ideas of the originals in a faithful way. But at the same time, it's not worth $40 to have 2 games that should actually just be on the eShop. Now, the arcade games aside, those aren't the only 2 new games in the package, if you even really want to call them new, but they're really the only ones worth mentioning. Dimensions is also packaged with Pac-Man Tilt and Galaga 3D Impact. It's almost impossible to capture video of those games, as you can see here, with me trying to show you how to play Pac-Man Tilt, but believe me, you're not missing anything. Honestly, it pains me to criticize a package that has Pac-Man Championship Edition, Galaga Legions, and the original versions of Pac-Man and Galaga. But the bottom line is, the retail struggles of the 3DS are in materialized physical form in Pac-Man and Galaga Dimensions, a half-baked, overpriced title that clings to a business model as old as its games.